Good morning. Before we get started, can you hear me okay? Yes. Awesome. All right. I am Jen Mason. I'm your worship associate this morning, and I'm a very small part of a very large team that puts this service on for you today. I want to welcome each of you here in the sanctuary and everyone who's visiting us online this morning. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious tradition and is committed to a theological diversity, inclusivity, and social justice. Love is the power that holds us together and is the center of our shared values. As Unitarian Universalists, we embrace diversity of beliefs, of backgrounds, and life experiences. There's no need to leave your story at the door. Instead, we come together on a journey that respects and celebrates where you've been and who you are becoming. Today, we're fortunate to welcome our guest speaker, who's hiding behind these flowers, Dr. Immanual Joseph. He is a high school teacher and founder of a startup that uses technology to address Alzheimer's disease. He is a former cancer scientist, author of 9 books in 2 languages, a 3-time TEDx speaker, a certified life coach. He's obtained his PhD in biochemistry from Tulane University, and has shared compassion skills in companies, including Facebook, Salesforce, and Amazon. Let us welcome Immanual. Spirit of life, be present with us this hour. Join us today as we gather in a wider search for truth and purpose. In this quest, may we greet one another with open hearts and minds. May we inspire each other to consider new questions and seek deeper meaning. And may we cultivate wisdom and compassion. Let all who enter this sanctuary see a welcome face, hear a kind word, and find comfort in this community. And may all that is done and said here today be in service to love and justice. We will begin by lighting our chalice, a symbol of both the heritage of our past and the light of hope within this church today. The chalice lighting words are written by Joanna Lubkin, and this morning the chalice will be lit by John Lazarine.
We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share this time together.
Unitarian Universalists do not adhere to a single creed or doctrine. Instead, we are unified by shared covenants across congregations based upon values and principles that are centered on love. Please join me in reminding ourselves of our promise to each other. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in the Lord, and to help one another. Okay, now we're ready for our responsive reading. And somebody I think you might know is going to guide us through this.
Your responses are in bold, should be fairly straightforward. Practice with me now. We speak the language of love. We arrive from many different experiences and backgrounds. Some of us have trouble speaking. Others are so young they're still learning to talk. Some of us speak English as a second language, and others of us can speak several foreign languages. All of us, though, share this in common. We speak the language of love. in the moments before worship begins, and again when we return to the service of life, we greet one another with kind words. We chat about the days behind us and the days to come, and we speak the language of love. We lift our voices in song, not to sing perfectly or even in tune, but to hear and feel our voices form a life-giving sound, and we speak the language of love. We form a web of compassionate listening when individuals among us, embodying vulnerability, name the fears that grip their hearts and the joys that buoy their spirits. We speak the language of love. At times, our voices clash. We disagree. Tension enters our voices as we make room for different beliefs, different opinions, different perspectives. Through it all, it's our intention that we speak the language of love. In this congregation, we welcome a multiplicity of truths and invite them to be named out loud. We prophesy, summoning the age when justice and peace will be evident all around us, and we speak the language of love. Let us worship together, making room for one another as whole beings, tender hearts, hungry spirits, and curious minds. With our actions and with our words, let us speak the language of love.
Starting from 1965, the United States started bombing parts of Cambodia, bordering Vietnam, and it intensified into a carpet bombing starting from 1969 and all the way to 1973. The idea was that they were bombing the guerrilla Vietnamese soldiers and the Viet Cong and so on, and the U.S. ended up setting a military-backed regime in Cambodia. Now, inadvertently, that created a backlash in the form of the Khmer Rouge, the opposing group in Cambodia, the communist ideological group, that basically came to power by storming Phnom Penh in 1975. But even as they did that, they came in with a very strong agenda to destroy anything that was not innately Cambodian. So they destroyed anything that was not innately following their belief systems. So anybody who followed the Buddhist faith, anybody who was a Catholic, anybody who was not subscribing to their principles or opinions, they were intent on destroying them. So and this was led by a man named Pol Pot, and this went on for about 4 years, from 1975 to 1979. It was a time of terror for people in Cambodia. About 1.4 million people, which is about 25% of the Cambodian population, was killed in a most brutal fashion in those 4 years. And they called them the killing fields. One of the journalists who survived that time, he wrote about it and he called it as the killing fields. It was you had one chance, one warning, and if you didn't follow the principles, if you didn't openly denounce what your faith was, you would be given a second warning and then taken to the killing fields. And the killing fields were where you were tortured and put through extreme hardship, and eventually killed. And the children were not spared either. The children, the babies, the infants, they didn't want them to grow up and come back and act in revenge. So they would bash their heads and throw them into the mass graves. all kinds of cruelty happened. And at the end of the day, by 1979, as I said, 1.4 million people were killed. And the people who did survive, they rushed to the border of Cambodia and Thailand, which was to the south. And they were living there as refugees. And 1979, Vietnam, South Vietnam at this time, attacked, because they were actually, the Cambodian government, the Khmer Rouge, was kind of invading into Vietnamese territories as well. And so Vietnam retaliated, and they basically destroyed the Khmer Rouge, pushed them out to the boundaries. And the war continued for another 10 years. In that time, there were about 10 million landmines that were laid across Cambodia. Much, much more than the number of people that were there. Now, like I said, one of the major targets at this time was the Buddhists. There were about 60,000 Buddhists who were alive, who were there at the start of the Khmer Rouge invasion or the takeover. And by the time they were done, about 3,000 people, 3,000 Buddhists were alive. And most of them were people who had gone out of the country, who were out of the country when the Khmer Rouge invasion started, and they had no way to come back. One of these men was a man whom we now know as Mahagoshananda. His name means the Great Proclaimer. Now, he had become a Buddhist monk when he was about 8 years old. He was born in 1929, and he was about 8 years old. He had gone for training in India through a man who was a disciple of Gandhi, and he had learned about non-violence. And then he was in Thailand practicing Buddhism, practicing meditation, when all of these horrors unfolded. And he had no way to come back. And his master kept insisting, do not lose hope. Keep love in your heart, even as all of this is unfolding. It was very hard. And when in 1979, the Khmer Rouge was pushed to the sidelines, he used it as an opportunity to come back into Cambodia from Thailand at the southern border. And there he saw the horrors that were there, people without families, people who were in extreme suffering. And he set up a place for them, not just a physical space for them, because he built temples to accommodate them, but beyond that, he set up a place of internal refuge. He taught them that this was not a time for retaliation. He taught them that this was not a time for violence. It was not a time for anger, but it was a time for forgiveness and love. It was difficult, but people were tired of this war and willing to forgive. And so slowly over the next 10 years, he became a voice of compassion. And until in 1989, the Khmer Rouge essentially became extinct. So in 1992, he started these walks, peace walks, which they called as Dhamma Yatra. So he would start from one end of Cambodia and walk across the length of the land, 125 miles, so to Phnom Penh. And all through, he would be chanting this metta meditation, this voice of metta, which we are going to practice in a second. Metta means loving kindness. It's basically a recognition of our innate ability to be compassionate, to be kind, just as we were sharing in a little while ago, that we are all, irrespective of what is happening to us, irrespective of what has been done to us, irrespective of all the darkness that surrounds us, that we have the ability, the capability to show compassion without judgment. And so he would chant the metta, and people would come in droves and from those villages, and they would join him, even though they were afraid, because there would always be rebels lurking around, and they could shoot them and kill them at any time. It happened a couple of times, because they did multiple Dhamma Yatras. And throughout, and the second time there was a bomb that was thrown at them, and a few people that were killed by the guerrillas. But they kept going. They walked through the landmines, and they walked without fear, and they walked in love, and all the time speaking about compassion, and speaking about nonviolence, and practicing this practice called metta. It became their armor, and it was resistant to bullets. Adi Ubeyashekara says this about metta, the practice of loving kindness. Well-developed loving kindness can be the perfect antidote to negative feelings like resentment, anger, ill will, and hatred. As described by Venerable Buddhaghosa in the Visuddhimagga, metta is a solvent that melts not only one's own psychic pollutants of anger, resentment, and offensiveness, but also those of others. Since it takes the approach of friendship, even the hostile one turns into a friend. Metta simply means friendship. It's considered as one of the four immeasurables in the Buddhist doctrine, the other three being karuna, which is compassion, and upekkha, which is equanimity, and the practice of mudita, which is very hard to practice, which is basically wishing everybody the same kind of love and compassion that you would want for yourself. All of these are intertwined. It is believed that Buddha himself shared the practice of metta. And again, according to the Theravada faith of Buddhism, the story is, and again, there's a little bit of a fancy story here that's added in. The story is that monks usually in those days would rest for the monsoon season. They would stay in a place without moving in meditation for the period of the monsoon, and then they would come back to the other outside world after the monsoons are over, so they could spread the message of Buddhism around the world. And so the story goes that in one place that the monks were meditating, the spirits of the trees that they were meditating under became angry because they were coming into their space, and they knew that they were going to be there for several months, and the spirits were not happy to be disturbed. So they would come down and they would give them these horrific images and sounds and basically distracting their meditation. So the monks could no longer meditate under those trees, so they went to the Buddha, and the Buddha said, you can meditate in the middle of all of this if you can acknowledge that even those spirits have the ability, the desire to be loved and to be happy and to be treated with kindness. And so he taught them the practice of metta meditation that we are going to actually practice right now. So it is said that when the monks came back, and their hearts were so filled with compassion, and they were no longer bothered by all of the sounds and the horrors that these deities were throwing at them. And the deities felt powerless in their presence. And eventually they realized that the compassion included them as well. And in that way that they became followers of compassion. So what I'm going to invite you today in the time that we have remaining, about 7 or 8 minutes, maybe 10, but 7 or 8 minutes, to join me in a practice of loving kindness. How many of you have practiced metta meditation before? You have. Many of you have. Fantastic, fantastic. So you know how powerful this is in resetting us. So please join me. I'll give you a quick note on how the metta practice runs. And in Buddhism, the symbol of Buddhism and symbol of compassion is the lotus flower. And if you look at the lotus flower, it has these many layers of petals, and they open up one at a time, And so our practice today is like our hearts being opened up like a lotus flower. We are going to open ourselves to the possibility of loving kindness. We're going to open the ones that we love to the possibility of loving kindness. And then we are going to open our strangers, the neighbors that we do not regularly interact with. And then in ever-expanding circles, include those that hurt us and in all life. So I'm going to invite you to settle in comfortably, whatever that means for you. If you can, please sit upright and let your shoulders feel relaxed. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or you can keep it half open, whatever works for you. Just feel comfortable in the space that you are. Let's start with some deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Once again, inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Now allow your breathing to return back to its normal. Listen to your body. Feel the sensation of your feet on the floor. How your body rests on this chair. How your chest and your stomach rise and fall with every breath that you take. Feel the breath as it goes in and comes back. Relax. I'm going to invite you to think of a good friend or somebody you love. Maybe a child, a parent, somebody who's dear to you. When you think of this person, it's possible for you to unconditionally love them. It could be a pet, it could be anyone, anybody, whom you can offer unconditional love. And you want this being to be happy, to be loved. I'm going to invite you to repeat these words in silence in your hearts for this being that you can offer such unconditional love to. May they be free from danger and anxiety. May they be loved. May they be happy. May they be at ease. May they be free from danger and anxiety. May they be loved. May they be happy. May they be at ease. I invite you to turn the focus onto yourself. It is so easy to be judgmental about ourselves, to be critical of who we are and what we do. We do not have a life guide. We are navigating life in the way that we know best. We deserve kindness. We deserve understanding. We deserve happiness. May I be free from danger and anxiety. May I be loved. May I be happy. May I be at ease. May I be free from danger and anxiety. May I be loved. May I be happy. May I be at ease. I now invite you to consider a stranger, a neighbor, somebody you don't regularly interact with, somebody that you probably see but don't know their story. This stranger, like you, is probably someone's father or mother, brother or sister, mom or dad. And like you, they too are navigating life through the same unknowns. And they too deserve love and happiness. And I invite you to wish them these words of loving kindness. May they be free from danger and anxiety. May they be loved. May they be happy. May they be at ease. May they be free from danger and anxiety. May they be loved. May they be happy. May they be at ease. And now I invite you to do a difficult thing. To think of someone who challenges you, who hurts you in some way. It's not easy for you to love this person or to give them wishes of kindness. But we are capable of reaching deep within into a place of no judgment, a place of no fear. And I invite you to think of this person, their fear, their ignorance that drives them into doing what they do to hurt you. It is hard, but it is possible to wish them loving kindness. May they be free from danger and anxiety. May they be loved. May they be happy. May they be at ease. May they be free from danger and anxiety. May they be loved. May they be happy. May they be at ease. I now invite you to think of all the people, the children, the women, the men, the ones fighting wars, the ones who are in situations where they should not be, the children of Gaza, the children of Sudan, the innocents who are caught in the chaos of greed and anger and injustice. They need healing, they need love, they need happiness. May we all be free from danger and anxiety. May they all be loved. May they all be happy. May they all be at ease. May all these children and the suffering be free from danger and anxiety. May they all be loved. May they all be happy. May they all be at ease. And finally, I invite you to consider that it's not just the people, it's not just the humans. It's all of life. We are all intertwined into each other. We are all connected to each other. Every living being, from a plant to an elephant, we all deserve safety and kindness. May all of us, all living beings, all sentient creatures, may we all be free from danger and anxiety. May we all be loved. May we all be happy. May we all be at ease. May we all be free from danger and anxiety. May we all be loved. May we all be happy. May we all be at ease. Let me invite you to bring your attention to your breath again. And I want you to remember that as you go through the rest of this day and the week, to remember your own propensity for unconditional kindness and the capacity of others to offer you unconditional love and kindness. This is the norm. This is the real. Everything else is darkness. And we can overcome this darkness by remaining rooted to the love and kindness that has been truly given to us as part of our being. And when you are ready, I invite you to welcome back to this reality. May we all be free from danger and anxiety. May we all be loved. May we all be happy. May we all be at ease. Thank you.
As our worship time this morning draws to a close, it is now time to extinguish our chalice. Please join me now in reciting these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. And keep in mind, remember, kindness is the thread that ties us all together.